Welcome to today's episode of Mindful Medicine. I'm your host, Tracie Jones, and today we're with Dr. Jim Schrenker. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? I'm good.
Well,
Completing each other's sentences now.
I know. That's something else, isn't it? So let's talk about fall. We just finished passing up September 21st or 22nd, which
Right.
was the first official day of fall. And there are a lot of things that happen at that time of year, especially physically, spiritually, emotionally.
Right.
For me, I like the weather, but I also start dreading what comes next.
Right. Yeah.
And let's talk about that a little bit, what our bodies go through.
Well, the analogy that you can make is throughout the course of a lifetime, we have spring, summer, fall, and winter. Throughout the course of a year, we have spring, summer, fall, winter. And really, in between those, we have a spring, summer, fall, and winter. So the spring is the growth, the rebuilding, the new birth. The summer is the enjoyment of all that. And the fall is the degradation and the rebuilding of that. And the winter is the fallow season, where things are just getting ready to be reborn again. So if you look at that through the course of a lifetime, it's easy. You know, you got up till your 20s, and in your 20s you're acquiring everything. You're learning how to do a job. You're learning how to make money. You're learning how to do things. Your 30s, you're buying stuff up. You're establishing your dominance. You're good at what you do. Your 40s, you're packing it all away, you're sorting it out, and then in your 50s, you're like, why do I have all this crap? I don't need it, right?
Right.
And then in your 60s and 70s, you're like, okay, I got my core people around me, and I don't need anything else. So that's kind of the spring, summer, fall, winter that we all go through. And in the newsletter this past month, we talk about it in terms of disease, and we talk about it in terms of separate parts of your existence, not necessarily the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. But a lot of times when people get a difficult diagnosis, they get blindsided by that. They get shocked by that, and then they go into a depression and a feel sorry for myself and oh, poor me. And you can do that. That's certainly part of it. That's not very helpful. What we try to get people to understand is that the disease or the illness that you have is a lesson. It's being taught to you. How well you learn that lesson determines your outcome. Obviously, everybody's outcome is obviously death. It can be premature, or it could be long-lived. So in order to learn from a disease state, in order to learn from a lesson, you have to change your frame of mind and not be the victim. You have to say, okay, this happened. We don't blame. We don't blame a pesticide. We don't blame smoking. We don't blame this. It's about taking responsibility. That stuff happened. Okay, now this is where we're at. Where do we want to go? And going down that pathway of, okay, what is this teaching me? If you believe in God, if God is omnipotent, he knows everything, if he's everywhere all at once, if there is only one energy source in the world that is God, then isn't God that disease? Isn't God that cancer? Isn't God that diabetes? And the last I checked, he wasn't here to punish us. He wasn't here to make us suffer. He's here to teach us love. So how can we see love? How can we see hope? How can we see peace within that disease state? That all determines on the team you got around you. You know, if you have a team around you that is Debbie Downers, the sky's always falling, oh, this is horrible, oh, that, it's going to make for a difficult lesson. But if you can surround yourself with people that have a positive, hopeful, loving attitude, then all of a sudden you get better outcomes. People that are happy have better outcomes. Cancer survivors are typically those that have a better outlook on life even before they got the cancer. So surrounding your people with a team that can help you, because there's going to be times that are depressing. There's going to be times that are setbacks. You got to have that team available around you to do that. So that's kind of what I got into a little bit in the newsletter, kind of diving down on how we should physically, mentally, and spiritually approach a difficult diagnosis.
Right. And that does make sense. Typically, the top 5 people around you all the time, like your best friends, do kind of shape your life.
Right.
And if they are positive, you're a more positive person. If they're encouraging, you feel like you can accomplish more.
Right.
And so I do definitely see that playing into that.
And one of the other things to realize is that whereas this issue is your teacher, whereas you are learning, at some point you transition to be the teacher. What a lot of parents don't know until their children are grown is the amount of teaching that they did without opening their mouth. How did I handle this situation? Because that's how my kids are going to handle the situation. And I've seen it with me. I've gone through periods of my life where I didn't have a lot of patience. And then when you see your child with a situation that all it requires is a deep breath and there's really nothing wrong, and then they explode, you're like, where did they learn that from? So, as it's been said from a lot of people, our children are much like looking in the metaphysical mirror. You know, as your children act, that's probably how you have acted. So as you get this difficult diagnosis, how are you doing it? It's okay to cry. It's okay to be despondent at times. But what are you going to do with that?
Right.
Are you going to turn that into hope? Are you going to turn that into joy? And sometimes the only direction to go is hospice. Sometimes it is too far advanced. But how are you going to do that? Are you going to do it with grace and love and joy and embrace it? Or are you going to do it kicking and screaming with fear?
Right.
So.
Right. And an image just came in my mind of fall and the trees and the leaves shedding.
Right.
So when you are going to these things, if you think about the leaves coming off the tree, those are the things that you don't want to carry with you. Right. What do you need? Yes. What do you need to let go of? Right. What is that negative reaction that this really doesn't serve me?
Right.
I'm going to drop this off.
And that's the perfect language to use. I'm going to get rid of what no longer serves me. Because once you get that diagnosis, once you have that issue, your priorities are absolutely changed.
Yeah.
Right. And also the people around you will change, because the people that were around you got you to that point, but they may not be the ones to take you to the next mile, to take you down the road any further. So if your friend all of a sudden leaves you or shuns you, that's probably a divine happening.
Right.
Embrace it and say, okay, gosh, I'm excited. Who's coming into my life next?
Right.
So.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for talking about this issue with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thanks. And thank you for watching this episode of Mindful Medicine. Remember, you are loved.